Severus Snape. For most of Harry Potter, Snape spent his entire life protecting the son of the man who tormented him. Not because he liked Harry, but because he loved Lily Potter, the one person who ever truly cared for him. He wasn't drawn to Voldemort out of pure malice. He was a lonely child, desperate for recognition and belonging. But after Lily's death, his devotion to her became his purpose. He agreed to protect Harry, even though the boy was a constant reminder of what he had lost. Snape's story isn't about revenge or redemption. It's about a man who played the villain to defeat true evil. And one moment proved it beyond all doubt. He killed Dumbledore, allowing the wizarding world to hate him, just to ensure Voldemort's downfall. In the end, Snape didn't fight for recognition or redemption. He fought because it was the only way to stay true to Lily's memory. His actions weren't about heroism in the traditional sense, but about loyalty, sacrifice, and duty. Harry understood this better than anyone. That's why he honored Snape's name, knowing that true bravery isn't always loud or celebrated. Patrick Bateman. Patrick Bateman, the central figure in American Psycho, is often seen as a sadistic monster, a wealthy, bloodthirsty serial killer who indulges in brutal violence without remorse. But beneath the surface, Bateman is more than just a murderer. He is a reflection of the soulless world he inhabits. Bateman is a successful investment banker in the 1980s New York, living among the ultra-rich elite obsessed with wealth, status, and appearance. But behind his perfect suit, flawless business cards, and expensive lifestyle, lies a man completely disconnected from reality. His violent outbursts aren't just acts of cruelty. They are a desperate attempt to feel something in a world that is cold, artificial, and indifferent. However, American Psycho raises a troubling question. Did Bateman actually kill anyone at all? The novel and film suggest that his murders may be fantasies, delusions, fueled by his fractured mind and the emptiness of his world. No one reacts to his confessions, bodies disappear, and society remains oblivious. Because in a world of greed and apathy, true horror isn't violence. It's the fact that no one cares. Patrick Bateman isn't misunderstood because he's secretly good. He's misunderstood because he is a product of a system that created him, a man lost in the void of materialism and detachment. Whether he's a killer or not, his real crime is that he is invisible, and so is his madness. Do you know what another crime is? You not subscribing to this channel. So please like and subscribe for more villain stories. Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze isn't your typical villain. He isn't driven by greed or a lust for power, but by love and desperation. Once known as Dr. Victor Freeze, he was a brilliant scientist working for GothCorp, dedicated to saving his terminally ill wife, Nora, through cryogenic preservation. But when GothCorp's ruthless CEO shut down his research, destroyed his equipment, and cruelly exposed him to hazardous chemicals, Victor was permanently altered. Now unable to survive outside sub-zero temperatures, he wears a cryosuit and wields a freeze gun, seeking revenge on those who wronged him. Yet his true goal is never destruction. It's saving Nora. His obsession blinds him to morality, making him a prisoner of his desperation. In some versions of his story, Nora is eventually cured, but by then, Victor has become too consumed by his own cold existence. In the end, the real tragedy isn't that he lost Nora. It's that, in his pursuit to save her, he lost himself. It's enough to bring a chill to your spine. Mr. Freeze wasn't born evil. Tragedy forced him into it. Homelander. Homelander is seen as the ultimate villain, power-hungry, cruel, and completely unhinged. But beneath the cape and forced smile lies a man shaped by the system that created him. You think Homelander was born evil? The truth is much darker. He was designed to be a god. Raised in a lab by Vout, he never had parents, love, or human connection. Instead, he was treated like a weapon, conditioned to believe he was superior to everyone. Without real guidance, he never learned empathy, morality, or restraint. Only control. The world sees a hero, but behind the mask, Homelander doesn't fight for justice. He fights for control. He craves love, yet despises those who admire him, because deep down, he doesn't know how to be human. Homelander isn't misunderstood because he's secretly good. He's misunderstood because he was never given a choice to be anything else. A man raised without compassion, forced into a role he never truly understood. He isn't just a villain, He is the inevitable result of absolute power with no one to hold it back. Zuko. Zuko is introduced as the perfect villain, an exiled prince, full of rage, hunting the Avatar to reclaim his honor. But Zuko was never meant to be a villain. His greatest enemy wasn't the Avatar. It was himself. He wasn't hunting Aang out of cruelty. He was doing it because he believed it was the only way to earn his father's love and return home. He was raised in an authoritarian regime, told that power equals respect and that honor comes from obedience. But deep down, Zuko was different. From the very start, his actions reveal something deeper. When Aang surrenders to protect his people, Zuko doesn't attack them. He keeps his word and takes Aang prisoner peacefully. Even at his lowest, he follows a code of honor that sets him apart from true villains. Zuko believes bringing Aang to the Fire Nation will restore his place in the world. But deep down, he's conflicted. He wants to do what's right, but he doesn't know what that means. Over time, Zuko learns that honor isn't something his father can give him. It's something he must define for himself. His true redemption didn't come from a fight. It came from a single moment where he finally made the right choice. His story is one of growth, redemption, and self-discovery, proving that being lost doesn't make you evil. It just means you haven't found your path yet. Medusa. Medusa is often remembered as a monstrous villain, her gaze turning anyone to stone, her hair a writhing nest of snakes. But what if I told you Medusa wasn't a monster at all, that she was the victim of a god's cruelty, and history turned her into the villain? Originally, Medusa was a beautiful mortal priestess of Athena, sworn to a life of purity. But when Poseidon desired her, he attacked her in Athena's temple. Instead of punishing the god, Athena blamed Medusa and turned her into a gorgon, cursing her with a monstrous form and a deadly gaze. She was banished and forced to live in isolation, not because of any crime she committed, but because of what was done to her. She became a feared figure, hunted for the power she never wanted. When Perseus beheaded her, it was seen as a heroic act, but in reality, it was the tragic end of a woman who had already lost everything. Even in death, Medusa was never free. Her severed head became nothing more than a weapon for the so-called heroes. Abby. Warning. This part contains spoilers for the game and series. In The Last of Us Part 2, Abby is seen as the villain, the woman who brutally killed Joel. To Ellie, and to many players, she was a monster. But what if Abby wasn't the villain? What if the real monster was the cycle of revenge itself? Abby wasn't always this way. She was once just a girl who loved her father, a Firefly doctor who believed he could save the world by creating a cure from Ellie's immunity, even though it would cost Ellie her life. But when Joel killed him to save Ellie, Abby lost everything. Fueled by grief, she trained relentlessly, seeking revenge. When she finally found Joel, she didn't hesitate. After taking her revenge on Joel, Abby finds herself empty. Violence didn't heal her grief. She begins to question everything she fought for, realizing that revenge only leads to more suffering. When she meets Lev, a young runaway from the Seraphites, she sees someone who, like her, is trapped in a world that won't accept him. Instead of walking away, she betrays her own people to save him, turning against the Washington Liberation Front to protect him and his sister, Yara. Her transformation continues when she risks her life to save Lev from his own people, infiltrating the Seraphite Island during a full-scale war. She fights her former allies, faces down their brutal leader, and ultimately abandons everything she built to keep Lev safe. By the end, when given the chance to kill Ellie, Abby chooses to walk away. Not because Ellie deserves mercy, but because Abby finally understands. The cycle of vengeance will never end unless someone chooses to break it. And she does. The Ice King. The Ice King from Adventure Time is often seen as a goofy antagonist, obsessed with kidnapping princesses. But beneath the madness lies a tragic and misunderstood figure. Long before he was the Ice King, he was Simon Petrikov, a kind-hearted scholar and antiquarian. He was deeply in love with his fiancée, Betty, and dedicated his life to studying ancient artifacts. But everything changed when he discovered a mysterious, enchanted crown. Unaware of its power, he put it on, and that moment sealed his fate. The crown granted him incredible ice magic, but at a terrible cost. It eroded his sanity, filled his mind with voices, and turned him into a danger to those he loved. In one heartbreaking moment, he begged Betty to leave him before he lost control completely. She ran, not because she stopped loving him, but because she had no choice. Over time, Simon disappeared, and the Ice King took his place. A lonely, delusional man, clinging to fragmented memories of love. To us, he's a joke. To himself, he's still searching for something he can never get back. Every villain has a story, and the most misunderstood ones make us question everything. If you want more deep dives into the world's most complex villains, hit that subscribe button and let me know who I should cover next.